So you might be trying to figure out which specific GPS application you want to use more of. Maybe it's Google Maps or maybe it's Waze, and you might be trying to figure out which one is the better one. Now, the one thing I'll definitely tell you is you can't really go wrong with either one of these. Google owns both of these applications, and they both offer their own way of going around things, if I'm going to be honest. But I will tell you, you can't really go wrong with one. If you're already using Waze or if you're already using Google Maps, you're kind of using the best of the best on both of them. I will say the UI of Waze looks a little bit better for me personally than Google Maps, but like I mentioned, you can't really go wrong with either one of these. The good thing is they're both available on the exact same operating systems. So if you can download Google Maps on one device, you can most probably download it on the other one. You have iOS applications, you have Android applications, and they both integrate very, very well with Android Auto and with CarPlay as well. So if you're trying to download one over the other one because of the availability, it's not like Apple Maps where basically you can only get Apple Maps on, iPhones for the most part and maybe some web-based browsers. You can actually get Android Auto and CarPlay capability on both Google Maps and on Waze, which is actually really awesome. Now, in my opinion, the UI on both, as I've kind of mentioned before, it's a very similar UI. You're definitely not going to be getting like a crazy amount of differences, but the big thing to keep in mind for me personally is the color scheme. The color scheme on Waze, in my opinion, looks a little bit better or a little bit more friendly than the one on Google Maps. When I open up Google Maps, it's kind of serious. It is like, let's get business done. That's kind of the vibe I'm going, that I'm kind of getting from it. But within Waze, I don't really get that vibe. It's more of like a playful kind of experience that I'm getting. Even the icon of Waze, with it being like that little, like whatever it is, like that ghost icon on cars, that is actually kind of funny, and I actually do like that a lot. So Waze kind of gives me more of like this funnier impression, like it's kind of a cooler, like hippie kind of thing in my opinion. That might be like super old way of putting it. Google Maps gives me like this like serious, let's go and get things done, same exact experience that I get on Apple Maps as well. So it's interesting that Waze kind of gives me like a kind of like a different type of experience, which is very funny. Now, in terms of the whole entire like navigation system of both these things, the GPS integration, again, if you're going from one place to the other, you're getting pretty much the same exact experience between both. It tells you exactly where to turn. It tells you exactly how to go places. It gives you alternative routes. If for some reason there's like an accident or something, it'll kind of tell you those things, which is kind of nice. But one thing that I've noticed, and one of the biggest features of Waze, is that something that I haven't really seen that Google Maps does yet, is that it actually will show you different things that are going on within the display. If people, or if there's like police cars, or if there's like a car on the side of the road, Waze will actually kind of tell you those things, which is actually very interesting. So personally, when I've used Waze before, it will actually kind of tell you that there's like a car on the side of the road ahead, or that there's like a police officer on this route, or whatever. And almost every single time, it's been exactly almost accurate, which is crazy. So I'm not even 100% too sure how they know this, but maybe there's like people who are like monitoring things all the time, or quite potentially more so is that since it's tracking your every move, if everyone's like moving away from a specific area of a lane, maybe Waze kind of detects that, or whatever the case is. So that's a really cool thing you have the capability for on Waze. There may be some ways to do this on Google Maps as well, but the cool thing about Google Maps is that I feel like within the lane itself, so if you're going from one place to the other, it gives you a little bit of a better layout of if there's traffic, or if there's like, a delay in one certain specific area. It gives you a little bit more of an idea of how much delay you're going to be having in which specific areas. And I like the color scheme that one gives me more than on Waze. So again, that is one thing I've kind of seen personally as well. But I do like I mentioned with Waze, it basically just gives you a little bit more information when you're on the display. But one thing that I do have to kind of give Google Maps credit for a little bit is within the kind of discoverability of both of these specific applications. One thing I noticed is that with Google Maps, it gives me a lot more options. Like if I'm trying to find restaurants, or I'm trying to find whatever, they both will give the same results, but the access of getting that information seems to be a little bit better on Google Maps, and it seems a little bit more user-friendly in that area as well. I don't think it's like a crazy big difference, but that is the other thing I've kind of noticed between both. Again, I don't think I would go from one to the other just because of that, but that is kind of one thing that stands out to me as well. Now, the navigation, portion of both of these almost identically the same. So if you're trying to, input your location, or if you're trying to add stops or whatever you're trying to do, you're going to be getting the same type of experience on both. So again, I wouldn't really go from one to the other just because of that specific option, but it is kind of one interesting thing that I kind of noticed as well. Now, in the battery life standpoint, in terms of your battery life drainage or whatever, I don't really think either one of these is going to give you like a crazy massive amount of difference. Navigation applications in general kind of do suck up a lot of battery life. So you're really not going to be getting kind of like one or more in terms of like, how much battery life you're going to be saving. I wouldn't really recommend using any of these at that point. Then I would just print out the, specific directions and kind of go from there. However, if you are actually kind of going through and using both of these, you might find that Google Maps could give you a little bit of a better battery life, at least from my opinion. Although it has way more features built in, I do find Waze in some ways, no pun intended, to be, not as optimized as Google Maps, because Google Maps has been out for a long time. It's been optimized every single time. So I don't know. I feel like battery life on both, especially with me having my phone on the dash and it being charged in most of the time, I don't really notice it. But that might be another thing that kind of comes in as well. Another thing many people have noticed about Waze is that it's very minimal. It's a very minimal application in the most part. So you really won't be using Waze if you're trying to go through and have the most complex type of experience, especially if you're trying to go, like I mentioned before, if you're trying to find a bunch of different places around you or alternative routes. Although it'll still give you a lot of cool application, like in terms of, whatever you're using for within it, it is actually really nice to have an application like Google Maps, which can kind of give you a lot more information and a lot more destinations around you, which you can actually use as well. But like I mentioned, one of the big things about Waze is that it is kind of like real-time traffic and real-time alerts about accidents, about police cars, about different things like that too. And that is something that I really do like. They even mention on their App Store page that it can help you avoid unnecessary speeding tickets. You can listen to podcasts and more, which is actually something that's really nice. Google Maps does this too. It'll just bring up the song or whatever you're listening to inside of the application, which I think is really cool. It will go ahead and give you a lot more, parking, it'll just basically give you a lot more information about the things that an everyday driver would actually want to get into. So that is something that I really do like. If you're somebody who wants to use an application like that, it doesn't really have all the bells and whistles, but is perfect for the everyday driver, I think something like Waze is probably the best thing for you. I think if you don't want to use like a it's not even a complex application like Google Maps. Google Maps is not that complex, but it is nice to have an application like Google Maps that has a lot of features built in that is pretty much, the main focus or one of the main focuses of Google. I would say for their whole entire Google UI, Google Maps is a very, very important application that is used not only by a ton of people, this application, but a ton of different map applications depend on Google Maps. You would not believe how many applications tap into Google Maps. So I would say in terms of the whole entire Google experience, that company focuses on Google Maps a lot more than they focus in on Waze. But Waze is a really good application too. I will say if you want the most amount of features and all that kind of stuff, Google Maps is definitely the better way to go. But Waze you can't really go wrong with. I love the fact that you can download these applications on all the operating systems. It's not like Google is only saving it on Android. You can download it on all the different, devices out there, which is so nice. But I do like Waze because, it's like a kind of like a Google Maps Lite that is more friendly, that has a lot more like colors built in, which is nice. But I do like Google Maps because, it just has all the capability built in for sure. So in terms of that kind of covers it down. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.